Throughout history, humanity has built great empires, invented groundbreaking technologies, and made some of the dumbest decisions imaginable. Today we explore the worst of the worst, the choices that left entire nations saying, well, that was a mistake. Our story begins in ancient Troy, where the Trojans had been at war with the Greeks for 10 long years. The Greeks, unable to break the city's mighty walls, suddenly vanished, leaving behind a mysterious giant wooden horse at their gates. Some Trojans thought it was a trap. Others thought it was a surrender gift, a tribute to their great victory. The Trojan priest Laocoon even warned them, saying, beware of Greeks bearing gifts. But the majority ignored him. In an award-winning moment of naivety, the Trojans dragged it inside their city, celebrated, and went to bed feeling victorious. Turns out, the horse was full of enemy soldiers. As the city slept, Greek warriors crept out of the hollow horse, unlocked the gates and let in their entire army. By dawn, Troy was burned to the ground. This was basically the ancient version of clicking on a spam email that says you've won $1 million. If your enemy gives you a surprise gift, maybe don't take it. Napoleon Bonaparte, ruler of France and one of history's greatest military minds, made a massive mistake when he decided to invade Russia. His grand army of 600,000 soldiers began marching east, expecting a swift and glorious victory. But the Russians had other plans. Instead of facing Napoleon in direct battle, they burned everything, farms, towns, and even Moscow itself, leaving the French with nothing to eat or shelter in. By the time winter hit, Napoleon's once mighty army was dying of starvation, exhaustion, and frostbite. With temperatures dropping below -30°C, -22°, horses and men collapsed in the snow. The once proud invasion force barely escaped with 10,000 survivors. Shockingly, Hitler made the exact same mistake 130 years later. If you're going to fight Russia, check the weather first. During the Crimean War, British officers issued one of the most poorly worded orders in history. Due to a mix-up, the Light Brigade was sent charging directly into a valley lined with Russian cannons. It was basically a suicide mission. The soldiers obeyed their orders, galloping into a hailstorm of artillery fire. Of the 600 men who charged, nearly half were killed or wounded. The attack achieved nothing, except becoming a famous poem by Alfred Tennyson, which glorified the disaster instead of learning from it. This was the military equivalent of bringing a knife to a gunfight. Before charging into battle, double-check your orders. In 1932, Australia faced an unusual enemy, emus. Yes, giant, flightless birds were ruining farmland, so the government decided to send in the army to handle them. Armed with machine guns, the soldiers expected an easy win. They were wrong. The emus outran the bullets, scattered into small groups, and dodged every attempt to wipe them out. The birds even used tactical retreat strategies. One soldier noted that they moved like a military unit. After weeks of battle, the army admitted defeat. The emus won the war. Yes, the birds outmaneuvered trained soldiers. Maybe don't declare war on flightless birds. In 1985, Coca-Cola decided to replace its classic formula with a new one called New Coke. The goal? Compete with Pepsi. What they didn't expect was instant public outrage. People hated it. Sales plummeted. It was so bad that Coca-Cola had to bring back the original formula in just 79 days. The backlash was so strong that New Coke became a symbol of corporate failure. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. In 1999, NASA launched the Mars Climate Orbiter, a $125 million spacecraft designed to study the Martian atmosphere. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, until it wasn't. As the spacecraft neared Mars, it entered the atmosphere way too low and burned up completely. The reason? One team at NASA used metric units, while another used imperial units to calculate the spacecraft's trajectory. That's right, 25 million was lost because someone forgot to convert feet to meters. Always double-check your math, especially in space. In 1957, Ford launched a brand new luxury car, the Edsel. They spent $250 million on research, marketing, and production. It was supposed to be the next big thing in automobiles. But there was one major problem: no one liked it. The car had a bizarre oval grille that looked like a toilet seat, confusing push-button transmission controls, and an over-the-top marketing campaign that failed to connect with customers. Within just 3 years, the Edsel was discontinued, and Ford lost over $2 billion in today's money. It became one of the biggest flops in car history. Just because you spend a lot of money on something doesn't mean people will want it. In 1962, the Beatles auditioned for Decca Records, hoping to land a record deal. After playing 15 songs, the label executives gave them a firm response: guitar music is on the way out. That's right. Decca turned down the Beatles, the band that would go on to sell over 600 million records worldwide. The Beatles signed with EMI Records instead and became the biggest band in history. Meanwhile, Decca spent the next few decades trying to forget this mistake. Never assume you know what the future holds. In 1970, officials in Oregon faced an unusual problem. A dead whale had washed up on the beach and it smelled horrible. Their solution? Blow it up with dynamite. The idea was to use an 800-pound explosive to send whale pieces into the ocean, where scavengers would eat them. Instead, the explosion sent giant chunks of whale blubber raining down on the crowd. A half-ton chunk of whale crushed a car a quarter-mile away. The explosion didn't even get rid of the whale. Most of it remained, still rotting. This remains one of the most explosive government failures in history. Maybe don't solve problems with explosives. If history has shown us anything, it's that bad decisions are not a thing of the past. From military miscalculations to business blunders, humanity has a tendency to repeat its mistakes, often with spectacular results. But here's the real question: have we actually learned anything? Or are we just waiting for the next great disaster to remind us that history loves to repeat itself? Whether it's underestimating an enemy, ignoring experts, or just refusing to admit defeat, bad decisions never go out of style.